actually think it's an exciting time to be a woman now because we are actually looking at this and realizing, wait, just because you turned 50 doesn't mean life is over, right?
Yeah, and I'm so happy that life is going in that direction because it was like a hard stop before, and
Right.
now we're seeing that we're not the golden girls just because we're in our 40s. We are in an awesome and golden stage of life, but we do really still care about the way that we look, and we want to preserve our youth while also accepting where we are because we know that we're
Right.
not in our 20s and 30s anymore. You are listening to the Free to Be Mindful podcast, which invites you along on a journey to learn of mindful living, grow in mental health, and inspire through personal growth. In a world where we can often feel much stress and overwhelm, this podcast provides bite sized tips and real talk conversations, empowering you to embrace mindfulness and nurture your full potential. I'm your host, Vanessa de Jesus Guzman, licensed therapist, retired educator, entrepreneur, and mom of two. I'm passionate about helping busy moms reduce the overwhelm and to live life intentionally without losing their, well, here we go. Hello and welcome back to the Free to Be Mindful podcast. I hope that you're feeling good, looking good, and doing better in this world than you were yesterday. So I always open up the podcast with the same phrase. I hope that you're feeling good and looking good. And that is not only for the external or external selves, but also for our internal selves. But today we are talking just a little bit on the external because we have a dermatologist with us as our guest. We have Dr. Mary Alice Mina, who is a Harvard trained dermatologist, international speaker, author, and host of the popular podcast, The Skin Real. She's also the co owner of Buchan and Mina Derm Surgery in Atlanta, Georgia, and a leading expert on procedural dermatology, skin health, and skin care. Her insights have been featured on television and in major publications like People Magazine, Glamour, and Huffington Post, to name a few. And with nearly 2 decades of clinical experience, she's recognized for her artistic eye and surgical skills. Dr. Mina is on a mission to reframe aging, aesthetics, skincare, and skin health, and to help people feel radiant in their skin at all stages of life. We really go into not just a little bit of advice on skincare, but also the stages that we find ourselves in, especially as mothers as we continue to get older, and how we can first take care of ourselves before taking care of those we love. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. Dr. Mary Alice, welcome to the Free to Be Mindful podcast. So glad you're here with us today.
Thank you so much. I loved our conversation last summer, and I'm so glad to be back.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you referenced that. I do, by the way, to listeners and watchers, if you're catching this on YouTube, we do touch base beforehand because I want to meet these amazing people and see what it is that they offer and if it's a good fit for the podcast. And I knew that Dr. Mary Alice would be because she has awesome information to share with not only about skincare, but a little more than that, deeper than that. But before we go into it, Dr. Mary Alice, why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a board certified dermatologist. I practice in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been in practice, gosh, about 13 years, which I don't know how that happened. And I have a skin focused podcast. I found that when I turned 40 and a lot of my friends turned 40, and also just taking care of patients around my age, I was seeing a lot of questions, a lot of confusion, a lot of insecurity. And so I have started a podcast to talk about that called The Skin Reel. And I also love to just speak publicly because I think there's a lot of confusion out there in the skin health space. And I think dermatologists really need to be we need to have the megaphone to help people know how to really take care of their skin because there's a lot of hype out there. I see it, you see it, I know the listeners see it. And I'm also the mom of two school-age children. I'm married, so I get the juggling, the wearing lots of hats that we all do.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll get into the home life in just a little bit. So I'm so glad that you shared about that. When it comes to skincare, you think of when I hear dermatologist, I first think of teenagers, right? Like when they're breaking out in puberty. And at least to share about my story, I never had that as a teen. But then when I turned like 21, 22, I also had braces on again when I was a 22-year-old teacher. And then I started to break out. So it looks like I was going through puberty as a teacher, being a young age of 22. But it was so interesting how my skin changed. And then obviously in my 30s, it changed again. And now I'm in my 40s, just had another baby. And it's kind of like, well, where am I? Like postpartum and then premenopausal and all of those different things and changes in life. So, as far as how you see it in your experience and knowing much more than, or us lay people know, what is it that happens with our skin that it changes depending on what we're going through in life?
Yeah, so great point. And a sad but true fact is that acne can happen at any age. We have newborn acne, and you can get acne when you're in your 80s and 90s because it's caused by a lot of hormonal shifts that can trigger oil production, stuff like that. So yeah, our bodies, well, I guess I'll start off by saying sometimes people think our skin is just a pretty face, and we
Hmm.
forget that our skin is first of all over our body, and
Yeah.
it's an actual organ system. And our skin works in synergy with the rest of our body. And a lot of times I'll say our skin is like a mirror to what's going on internally. If you're stressed out, if you're eating terribly, if you're not sleeping, you're drinking too much, etc. It's reflected in our skin, and we can see signs of that. So I think too often we think of our skin as just, neck up and aesthetics only. And we forget that our skin is our largest organ and actually does a lot more things than we realize. And it does reflect how we take care of our body and also what's going on. And so you were having a lot of hormone shifts when you become a young adult. Sometimes some people are more sensitive to androgens in their bodies. As
Hmm.
women, right? Our hormones are in flux every single month, that until
Yeah.
we hit menopause, right? And I sort of laugh when people talk about hormonal balancing. It's really difficult to balance hormones as a woman because our bodies are meant to fluctuate, right? It's this like,
Right.
beautiful synergy that happens that allows us to menstruate and have babies. But truly, we're in hormonal balance with our estrogen when we're in menopause and beyond because it's zero. There's no more
Oh.
fluctuating. And so that's not ideal either to be living as long as we live now without estrogen. We're learning that estrogen has so many important roles in our body and our skin. Our skin has estrogen receptors. So
Right.
a lot of times what happens in your 40s, what you're seeing, what I'm seeing is that our hormones are all over the place now. Some months you may have a period, some months you may not, you may skip.
Mm.
And the estrogen levels can be high and then they can be low. And that makes our testosterone levels sometimes, not that they're necessarily elevated, but compared to our estrogen levels, they're higher. And so that's why we sometimes see more androgen issues like dark hairs growing on our chin or down our thighs, and maybe some hair loss, and then also some increased acne. So that's a long
Wow.
answer to your question.
No, I love it. And as you were giving that explanation, what I picture was, when you say fluctuate, like almost somebody juggling three balls
Yep.
in the air because you're always going up and down. And then when you hit menopause, it's like all the balls are on the floor.
Yep.
It's a
Yep.
wrap.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Yeah, and I think actually I am excited though to be a woman in my 40s during this time period because we're finally looking into this stage of life for women. Even in medical school and residency, right? There was no focus really on women's health beyond
Yeah.
reproductive health. And even my friends who are OBGYNs got really zero. They really had to seek it out. So it's like this group of forgotten women. And now there's actually people are talking about it. We're realizing that life isn't over just because you don't have any more estrogen or you stopped being able to have children. And so I actually think it's an exciting time to be a woman now because we are actually looking at this and realizing, wait, just because you turned 50 doesn't mean life is over, right?
Yeah, and I'm so happy that life is going in that direction because it was like a hard stop before, and
Right.
now we're seeing that we're not the golden girls just because we're in our 40s. We are in in an awesome and golden stage of life, but we do really still care about the way that we look, and we want to preserve our youth while also accepting where we are because we know that we're not in our 20s and 30s anymore.
Yeah. And I think that's what's really, really tricky, right? It's that I want to be able to embrace aging. And I think a
Right.
lot of that is to reframe what we think about aging, that it's not all bad, it's not all downhill. They actually have done studies where people who have a positive perspective on aging actually are healthier. They live about 7 years longer. They have less chronic illness and disease. So again, mindset is everything, right? So reframing aging, that it's not, oh my gosh, it's awful, it's terrible, it's all negative. Finding some positive in that. I know, at least for me, with aging, I have a lot more confidence. And I also tell people to embrace where they are today. Too often
Yeah.
we look in the mirror, and I'm guilty of this too, or we see a picture and we're like, ooh, yuck. Oh, what's going on with my neck? And I'm breaking out. And we're very, very critical of ourselves. But I'll tell people that right now you are looking amazing. And if you don't believe me, fast forward 10 years and you're going to look back on
Mm-hmm.
today and say, I looked really good. I do that
Yes.
with pictures I thought looked terrible 10 years ago. And I'm like, what was I thinking? That I actually looked good then. So we have to reframe what we think about aging and shift our perspective a little bit. It's not, the goal should not be eliminating every sign of aging, every wrinkle, and pretending like it's not happening to us, because it is going to happen to us. But it's striking that balance, whatever that is for you, to age where you look and are as healthy as possible. Because yeah, I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, age naturally and gracefully and all that. But I mean, the reality is we also do want to look good. But I think
Right.
it's the people who are sort of obsessed with looking like they did when they're 20, they're never going to be happy. They're going to be very, very frustrated. So just understanding, giving ourselves grace that it's okay to look different. Let's be as healthy and beautiful as we can today, where we are in this season of life.
And I very much appreciate that explanation because it ties into my mindful living framework where we are in the right here and right now. And we're never going to get this moment back. So why is it that we want to like fawn over these pictures from 10, 20 years ago when that moment has passed and instead we can embrace the right now? Because like you said, 10, 20 years from now, we're going to say, "Oh, do you remember then? I wish
Right.
I looked like then," or whatever it is. So it's
Yep.
really appreciating the right here and where we are right now. And that also goes along with something you mentioned earlier, as far as the skin from top to bottom really is a product of what is in our experience. And it reminds me about maybe 8 years or so. I was going just through a really tough time in life, getting my certification to become a therapist and all the hours and all the things that you need to do. And I remember my face was just, I mean, it was like crater after crater. It was an awful, awful experience. And I went to a dermatologist who was amazing, and she had a very holistic approach. And it was taking care of like what's happening to your skin, but really, what's happening in your life right now? Are you sleeping? How are you eating? How much water are you drinking? And I loved the approach of the all the way around because it wasn't until I fixed those other things and really took care of those other things that then my face slowly started getting better. Do you find that as well in your practice that, it's really the all the way around experience?
Oh, 100%. And it's difficult in our healthcare system that we have now, right? To really delve into all these things again, which is why I have a podcast, because I think a lot of people get information online or through podcasts. And it's so much easier to just say, well, buy this cream and it's going to solve all your skin
Right.
problems, right? But that's not the reality. It's like exercise, it's like working out, or I should say, losing weight, working out. It takes time. There's really no quick fix. But if you truly want the best looking skin, it's more than just what serum are you using, what active, right? Like
Mhm.
that has a role, but I talk about a very minimalistic skincare routine, and I have a very minimalistic skincare routine. I do not use a lot of products. I don't use really, most of my products are from the drugstore. Um, so there are a few key things I think are important, and there are definitely some things you can do to enhance that. But all the procedures, all the products in the world are going to do, diddly squat if you are not taking care of your body. But
Yeah.
it's so much easier to say, well, just tell me what I need to buy, right?
Right.
Then
We all want that quick pill, the quick answer.
right. Yeah. So if you're not sleeping, right? We've all like who here has not had an all-nighter studying or a newborn, right?
Right.
You just don't look good in the morning and you're exhausted. You don't feel good. And then you don't eat well. And then you're snapping at people because you don't feel good. Like all these things are related. And then you might try to drink a lot of caffeine to stay awake. And then
Right.
that has ramifications. So it's not sexy. It's not something I can like package up and sell you, but taking care of your body and realizing that skin health is whole body health is so, so key. And it took me until my 40s to actually realize it's not selfish to do these things for myself. It's actually imperative. It's like the plane
Hmm.
where you're supposed to put your oxygen mask on first
Always.
because if you're depleted, how can you be sort of the figurehead of your family or in your career or for your friends? How can you be a support person for other people if you can't even take care of yourself? So yeah, I wish again that's the whole concept of your skin as an organ system. It works with the rest of your body. It's not separate. All our whole body works together.
Yeah.
And so being mindful of, and it doesn't have to be crazy, right? It's not like, okay, you've got to do a cold plunge every day and spend 20 minutes in the sauna and do this and that. Like I would say start with basics, like give yourself a bedtime and really
Hmm.
try to stick with it. And I do a morning routine now. My mornings used to be hit the snooze because I went to bed too late because I watched
Mm.
TV and then I'd wake up frantic and then I'd be
Right.
upset with my children for being slow, but really it was my fault for not getting up on time. So, getting sleep, and it might not be 8 hours for you, but maybe 7 consistent hours is enough.
Yeah.
And not, watching what you're eating. We know that sugar accelerates collagen breakdown. So processed foods with a lot of sugar are going to accelerate that. Sun protection is huge. If you are tanning, if you are smoking, these are things that are really
Mm.
going to accelerate damage in your skin and loss of collagen. But I think sometimes people think they've got to do all these supplements and all this stuff. But really, I would say just start with just very basic habits. Maybe getting a massage once a month as a way to
Right.
de-stress or taking a walk or yoga, things like that. I mean, Vanessa, you could talk more about those things, right?
Totally. And it goes hands in hands. And I'm so glad that you're really emphasizing is let's get back to the basics because we want that magic thing or we want to do all these things when sometimes in reality, we have a hard time fitting in what we have as is. And then to
Right.
add so much more to the plate can really be overload that we may do it for a day, two or three, and then the efforts go out the window because we haven't really mastered the basics as they are. And I hope that especially the moms listening in are really internalizing that because very often we put ourselves last. And like you were saying, self-care is not selfish. We have to put ourselves first in order to be the best versions of ourselves then for our kids. So hopefully that brings a little bit of relief as far as take care of the basics, the easy stuff before even thinking about and adding anything on. Because our
Right.
lives are so busy, right? And with as a mom of two school-age kids, as you were saying, it can be a lot to manage the homework and the after school and driving here and driving there. And then we have our own careers that we're trying
Right.
to excel at. So, how do you balance being a doctor and having a busy schedule and then with your two littles?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's always I do feel like I'm juggling a lot. I have an amazing, wonderful husband. So I will tell my daughter when she's older, or and my son, right? Like who your partner is, who your spouse is huge. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't have the career I have if I didn't have his support. And I do think, nowadays, like dads are really involved, and that's wonderful. He does the drop-offs in the morning. Um, that being said, I still feel like there's work that goes to the moms, right? Like I've
Always.
got the schedule all in my head. I'm the one who who has everyone's schedule in there, and that
Yeah.
is tricky. I'm fortunate to have help. So I do have a nanny who helps out. And one thing I've learned is that delegation is key. So maybe that's the high school kid down the street, or
Yeah.
a family member, or a nanny who can help. But carpooling, right? Like setting up
Mm-hmm.
carpools with people. But you don't have to be the one to do everything. I also realize I can't make it to every school thing, and I don't make it to every function. But I try to focus on quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's actually, I don't feel guilty about that, because
Right.
my kids see me doing, they see that I have important things as well, and that I have commitments that I have to keep, and I have responsibilities. And so I do try to balance that. But I actually think rather than feeling guilty about it, I actually think I'm setting a good example for them. And I try to be at the things that really matter to them and are really
Mm-hmm.
important. But yeah, it's I would say outsource things you don't love and enjoy. Nowadays, it's
Yes.
so easy to find a virtual assistant, and you think that might be expensive, but it can be very affordable. And you also have to realize, well, what's your time worth, right?
Right.
Because if you may say, well, I can't afford to have someone do laundry or whatever, carpool, but what does it cost to actually have you do that? So, looking at it more like that has helped me realize, yeah, I don't need to be the one folding socks and putting them away. But, even with all the help, right? Like, I still feel like you're still a
You are.
mom. It's still,
Yeah.
you're still the CEO of the household and keeping everything together. But I think just asking for help, getting support, not trying to be a martyr, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's crazy that we expect women a lot of times to be 100% at work, but also 100% at home. And
Right.
and also realizing you don't have to have, it doesn't need to be perfect. And that's where I think friends, a good support system, comes in. My friends keep it real. I don't feel like they're trying to put on airs, and I can be real with them. Hey, I'm struggling with this right now. My kids are totally out of control right now, and I need help. And so I find that to be really helpful too.
So many great things in there. And I want to pick apart just a few to really, really highlight again is first letting go that idea of perfection. Not only that, like kids are going to act up, their kids, right? There's always going to be things going on because we all go through this thing called life, but it doesn't have to look a certain way. And you don't have to be the one to do things in order for it to get done. Of course, you're not doing it, so it's not going to be perfect. You can take that
Right.
angle too. However, allowing space for help makes a huge difference. I'll share just yesterday, I had some help that comes in to clean my home, and I'm there working with my child, but those are hours that I'm going to work. I'm going to work and spend with my daughter, and I'm present as I'm doing that, and I don't have to spend the time on cleaning my home because that's being taken care of. So letting go of perfection, intentionally getting help in order to help you. And as you were saying, quality over quantity. So often we think that if we are on the phone and our kids are in the same room, that we're spending time with them.
Yeah.
But if we are on the floor doing something that they enjoy with them, really intentionally being present, that makes a grander impact than being in the same room on the phone. And it's the playing with them or the spending time or really listening to them that they're going to remember from their childhood, not
Right.
the you were in the same room but on your phone. So I hope that moms can really walk away with that today because we know these things, but we have to be reminded because we always have a bazillion things going on because as you said, we're the moms. We have
Oh
those
my
things in our
gosh.
minds.
Yeah, something I'm really trying to work on is becoming master over the phone. I feel like these phones have just pervaded, they're pervasive in our life. And I find that is a huge time waster for me. And I know everyone feels like we need more time. But one thing I'm trying to do is like, I don't need to click open my phone and check email just because I have 10 seconds in my day. And I don't need
Right.
to go on social media because I find a lot of times when I go on social media and I'm scrolling, next thing it's 15, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, right? I'm embarrassed
Yeah.
to say. And a lot of times you end up feeling bad about yourself because you're like, oh
Yes.
man, I didn't take that trip, or she looks so good, or I didn't get this. And even when you're trying not to feel that way. So that's one thing I'm really working on too, is just being a in control of the phone, because soon my
Yes.
kids are going to get phones. And I'll tell my husband too, like, how can we expect them to have control over their
Right.
phone
If we do.
usage if we can't and we are full grown adults?
Totally, totally. We don't want to get stuck in that comparison trap for ourselves, and we don't want to set that up for our kids. So that leads
Yeah.
me to two questions. And one is, when you get caught up in the comparison trap, as far as like, oh, but they look so good, right? Or their skin is so good and they're so healthy. And that goes back to, really taking care of yourself and starting with the basics, and then not setting it up for our kids. And you mentioned you have school age kids, seeing so many children now, especially so many girls, come into my therapy office. And you mentioned earlier, you don't need 1,000 products, but I don't know what TikTok is doing to our girls. I'm glad that they're taking care of their faces, but I have clients tell me, well, yes, I have a 10 step skincare routine. And I'm like, wait, but you are only 10 years old. What 10 products is it that you really feel like you need? What is your expert advice on that?
Oh my gosh, it is hard. I would say the number one thing would be model for your kids what you want to them to sort of emulate, right? And it's more than just what you say, right? Your kids watch what you do, and so if you can say, "Don't have a ten, you don't need that, don't do this," but if you're doing it, or you're criticizing how you look, oh, mom looks so gross, look how old I've gotten, they
Mhm.
hear that and they internalize it. So I think be the model for them, and help sort of reframe what beautiful looks like. Or, oh, today mommy's wearing makeup, not because mommy needs to look pretty, but this makes me feel fancy. Um,
Yeah.
or so they understand like makeup can be fun, but we don't need it to because we're not pretty without it. And show them, healthy skincare habits. Like I just use sunscreen and a gentle cleanser. I will say,
Mm.
so my kids, even my son, are into skincare. So what I try to let them do, my son loves Ariana Grande, and I guess somewhere he found out she said she liked Elta MD sunscreen. So I said, perfect. I will get you Elta MD sunscreen. It's a
Just use
great
it.
product, and so he uses it. So I would say let them have some fun. I remember being young. I mean, maybe not 10. They don't need anti-aging, okay? Like they've
Right.
got more collagen than they'll ever have. But if they are interested, then maybe let them pick out a sunscreen that looks fun. Maybe it's not what you would use, but if it's SPF 30 and they're going to put it on, let them have maybe one fun thing, or maybe a fun lotion, right? But they don't need all vitamin C's and the retinoids and the
Right.
retinols. They don't need to be exfoliating all the time, but maybe let them pick one thing, like a cleanser, moisturizer, or sunscreen that they think is fun, that they like. And let them have a little fun with it. I let my daughter wear makeup, even though she doesn't really know how to wear it. But just because she sees me do it, and
Right.
she thinks that's what you do to look fancy. So I think, but really I would say just setting a good example, right? Because
Yeah.
they're going to see all this stuff online, and you can try to, my kids don't have phones, they don't even have iPads, but they still see this, right? I don't know
Yep.
how, but they still see it. And it's not going to go away, but just I want to be the one that they come to when they really have questions, not the internet, not their Instagram friends. And I think by just being honest with them, modeling the behavior I want, and then letting them have a little fun, is okay.
Yeah, some solid words there. And I hope that moms really take that with them because with that buy-in, when we get our kids buy-in and when we're open enough with them, then they are going to hear us a little bit more, but also they will allow us to hear them a little bit more. And that's really what we need in order to help our relationships with our kids. And
Yeah.
a very selfishly based question because I have a little one and the weather's getting better and we're going out for walks. What do you recommend for babies in terms of sunscreen?
In general, certainly under 6 months, we really just recommend shade, putting that awning up, putting on a hat. And those are actually great tips for all ages. But one thing I've done with my children, again, is like model the behavior I want them to do. Now, obviously, a 9 month old isn't going to notice that, but just start practicing. But really, I would say key would be make sure she is always wearing a hat. I love rash guards. So my kids have been wearing those, like, and I wear them, right? My husband wears them. In fact, I joke my son thinks it's like immodest to not have a sun shirt on. So he'll wear it even in an indoor pool. Um, so I love kind of the rash guards. I would just make sure she's in the shade as much as
Mm,
possible. If you go to the beach, have an umbrella, right? That's for
yeah.
all of you, not just the baby. But you can use a mineral based sunscreen. You do not need to have a sunscreen that says for babies. You just need to
Okay.
make sure it's zinc or titanium dioxide. Those are the physical sunscreens that we have. A lot of times they can be a little chalky white, which is why people don't love them all the
Right.
time. But really, I would just stick with something like that for her on especially if you're at the beach, but really anytime you're outside. But my kids, I think they had hats on them like anytime they went outside. And now they they actually don't fight me on that. That's like
Right.
just our routine that
You
we
built the
wear hats
habit.
exactly when we're outside. So that's kind of what I would just recommend for babies. They have that super delicate skin, and don't think, oh, because I can tan or I've got more melanin in my skin, you still got to protect that delicate baby skin.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. And that's something I'm always sharing with my husband. Like just because you can tan, it still means that you need sunscreen, regardless of having that great
Yeah,
color.
I'm still working on my husband.
I love that you really kept it real with us today. Sometimes we see, especially doctors or people, in higher power, but really when it comes down to it, we're all humans trying to do the best that we can, especially as moms trying to juggle that motherhood life, but still having our areas of expertise in whatever it is that we have dedicated our lives to. And I greatly appreciate the work that you're doing down there in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, absolutely. This was fun. And just to make your listeners feel better, my children have had sunburns. I'm not proud of it, but even dermatologists, we're not perfect. Our kids are their own people, and I'm not always there. So don't beat yourself up if you forgot the sunscreen one day. We're not perfect, right? Like we're all doing the best we can, and
Yeah.
hopefully this is just giving you some more tips. But yeah, even my children, like my daughter, my husband forgot to get her ears, and she had her hair behind her ears, and I forgot to check, and yeah, she burned those little ears. So we're all doing the best we can.
Absolutely. I'll make you laugh just for a moment. I've only gotten maybe a sunburn maybe once or twice. And I remember the first time I was like, what? Why does this hurt? I'm like, I didn't work out. Like, what is this
Yeah.
pain? And then somebody had to fill me in. And I was like, oh, this is what other people go through all of the time. So I can't even imagine. I know now I know it's a little bit painful and not fun to deal with.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm always, I mean, to me it just hurts me. The
Yeah.
burns are so painful, but yeah, when I see people with sunburns, it triggers like a hurt in me because it is painful. So I'm glad you've only experienced that a couple times.
Yes. And Mary Alice, if I can ask you if you had one thing in this world that you would like to be remembered for, what would that one thing be?
I would say skincare can be simple. We are overcomplicating it. We are being bombarded with buy this, do this, to make ourselves feel bad about ourselves, essentially.
Mm.
So this does not need to be complicated. Life is complicated enough. Skincare can be simple.
Keep it simple and go back to the basics. I love the conversation that we had today.
Thank you, Vanessa. Always fun. And yeah, if
Yes,
people want to know, where to find me or follow me, I'm
absolutely.
at Dr. Mina Skin, and I have a guide with some of my, especially sunscreen products. If you're wondering, like, well, what does she use? What does she recommend? It's theskinreal.com/guide, and you can get all kind of my faves.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to put all of those links and more in the show notes so that you can go back to Dr. Mary Alice and see everything that she is offering. So thank you. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thanks, Vanessa. Always fun.
Thank you, Dr. Mary Alice, for sharing your time and expertise with us today. And for today's guided meditation, I really want you to reflect on the message that you just heard and on two main things that stuck out for me was keep it simple and go back to the basics. Again, so often we think that we have to do so much. We think that we need that magic thing when we really just need to keep it simple and go back to the basics. What change can you do in your life to make sure that you are keeping it simple and going back to basics so that life can be enjoyed a little bit more simply? So that perhaps you have one, two, 10 things less to do on your to-do list, so that that allows you to spend more quality time with your family, with those you love, and with taking care of yourself because you too deserve it. If you think that this message resonates and can be shared with a friend that is special in your life, please be sure to share it with them. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember always, you are always free to be mindful. Catch you next time. Free to Be Mindful exists because of viewers and listeners like you. If you're enjoying the podcast or felt this week's show resonated with you, please take a moment to leave a rate and review on the platform where you catch your favorite shows. That quick and easy act allows me to see what you're enjoying so I can deliver more personalized content that focuses on learning, growing, and inspiring. It also helps others find the podcast too. Don't forget to subscribe so you can listen along next week. And if you can do me the favor and share this podcast on social or with a friend who may benefit from the message shared today, that would be truly appreciated. In the meantime, I welcome you to follow me on social media across all platforms at Counselor V. De Jesus for more fun content. And remember, my friends, in a world where you are free to be anything that you want to be, you are always free to be mindful. Catch you next week.